I was a little kid, my dad tried to publicly embarrass me, but he did not know he was raising a bad bitch. So one day I came home and I was having a real bad day at school and I was crying, I was. And my dad looked at me, he's like, you better stop that crying, that's girly. And what did I do? I kept crying. He looked at me, he's like, yeah, get out, we're going to the store. I'm like, why are we going to the store right now? What? He says, since you wanna be girly by crying, we're gonna go get you a dress. And you're gonna walk around the store in that dress so everybody can see how girly you are. At first I was like, no, please, that's gonna be so embarrassing, Dad, no. We still went to the store. My dad hands me this black dress and says, go in the fitting room and change into it. I put it on, I look into the mirror, and I was like, damn, bitch, I look good! I walked out of that.
My best friend is getting married. Neither of us have any sisters, so we're both the closest the other has to one. Her fiancé comes from an extremely mega Catholic family. She pulled me aside this past weekend and told me I wouldn't be able to go to the ceremony, which is in a traditional Catholic church. Her fiancé's parents, who are paying for almost all of the wedding, do not want anyone who is not baptized, no one with kids out of wedlock, and no unmarried couples who are living together. I have 2 children from 2 different people, and I didn't marry either of their fathers. She said a lot of people are being uninvited to the ceremony, but I'm still welcome to come to the reception. That's just their demands for footing the bill for everything. I was fucking pissed. I'm used to being judged for being a young unmarried mom, but not by a person I trusted. I told her I won't be going to the wedding at all. Reception be damned. She started crying and said it wasn't her choice, but she couldn't change their minds. I told her she's a hypocrite because she has already slept with her fiancé, and if she really is choosing money for a single day over me and my kids who she claims she loves. She pretty much begged me to reconsider, but I told her I respected myself and my children too much for that. I know it was a hard choice for her to make, but I feel like shit being judged for my kids and my past choices. Am I the asshole for telling her I won't come to her wedding?
Storytime Tinder edition. Okay, the story blew up on Twitter like a while ago, but I'm just gonna retell it because it's very informational. So there was this guy and this girl, and they met through Tinder, and then they met up and they went on this date. And they were out at dinner, and then she starts not feeling so well. And then she says, I really need to go home. And he says, yeah, I'll drive you home. And she says, okay. So then they get to her house, and then she starts feeling better. So then she says, do you want to come in for some coffee? And then he says, yeah, sure. So they go inside, they have their coffee, and then she doesn't feel well again. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't feel well again. I think you really need to leave. And he's like, okay. And he leaves. And then she goes to bed, and in the middle of the night, she wakes up, and she hears this noise down in her kitchen. And so she locks her door, and she calls the cop. And the 911 operator is just on the other line saying, can you just stay on the line until the cops get there? And then the cops get there, and they're like, the door is locked. Like, we don't think anyone's inside. And she's like, I promise you, someone's inside my house. I can hear them. She says, you have my permission to break down the door. So she's still up in her room, and then she hears the cops break down the door. And then she hears some rustling and some fighting. Part 2 coming now.
Product of an affair between my mom and dad. My mom was already married and had a 1-year-old daughter. She wanted to abort me, but my dad begged her and paid her a hefty sum. She signed over all rights, and I didn't see her for my 14 years of life. She recently contacted my dad saying she wanted to get to know me better, and he said it's entirely up to me. I was skeptical but decided to meet her. I've been talking to my mom's side for about 2 months when at a family gathering they all sat me down and said the reason they contacted me was because my half-sister was having kidney failure and was basically dying. At a loss for words, I got up and left. I told my dad, and he said it's entirely up to me, but I should get tested just to see before I make my decision. So I did. When my mom found out, she thought this was me agreeing and told everyone the good news. I did a lot of thinking, and I decided I would not be donating my kidney. This family had done nothing for me. The only reason they tried to get in contact was for my kidney. So I don't want anything to do with them. I got loads of hateful calls and messages, but decided to stand by my decision. My stepsister called me and said I'm a douche for giving her false hope. People are saying I'm wrong because I can save a life. My stepsister did nothing wrong. But I feel so used. Am I the asshole for not giving my sister in a very warm and loving environment, but from what I was told, I was lucky. My sister and I had 2 drug addict parents who never took care of us. When my mom was pregnant with me, she smoked and got drunk pretty often, and when I was born, my sister was the only one who took care of me. When I was 2 months old, they left us both in a mall and left, and we never saw them again. An old couple found us and contacted the police and eventually decided to adopt us. Today I'm 19 and my sister is 34. We're really close, but I still live with my adopted family, and she lives about 20 minutes away. So a couple of months ago, a friend and I took a DNA test, and that's how I found out I have an aunt in the system. I immediately reached out to her and we agreed to meet in person, all without telling my sister a thing. We tried to figure things out, so I asked her if she has a brother or sister, and she told me that when she was 13, her older sister got pregnant while being drunk with her junkie boyfriend, and a month after giving birth, she ran away with the baby after some pretty intensive fights with their parents. They never found her, but stopped looking after a year and a half. When I saw the picture, I knew it was my sister 100%. My sister is my mom. We were never abandoned. He fabricated this entire thing to my adoptive
Story time
family.
about how I had to get a restraining order against my creepy neighbor. I found a good deal on a rental and moved into a new neighborhood. It seemed like a decent area and I was excited for a fresh start. My friend was helping me move my stuff into my new house when my neighbor noticed and came over to welcome me. He seemed nice, and he even offered to help us unload the heavy furniture, which I accepted. A couple nights later, someone rang my doorbell and it was him. He brought me a plate of cookies and welcomed me to the neighborhood again. I thought he was just friendly and trying to be nice, but he kept doing things for me. Whenever he mowed his lawn, he would come over and mow mine as well without asking. I told him he didn't have to do that, but he insisted and said it wasn't any trouble. He brought me over food every few nights and always said he made extra and wanted to share. I wanted him to stop, so I told him that I was going on a strict diet and politely declined the next time he tried it. At this point, I could tell he was being overly friendly and it started getting weird. One morning, I came outside and he was washing my car. I asked him what he was doing and he replied that he just finished washing his and figured he'd do mine as well. I told him I appreciate it, but I didn't want my car washed and he shouldn't have done it without my permission. Unfortunately, things kept getting weirder from here.